and welcome to the Perspectives of Practice event for archives. I'm John Cox from DatacomIT. We're all here today as part of Information Awareness Week 2026. We had the kickoff event yesterday at the National Archives, which was great. So this morning's event is around perspectives of practice for independent schools, religious institutions, charities, and not-for-profit organisations. And I'm going to introduce our speakers. So I'll hand over to each of you to introduce yourself. The top of my list is Lisa McDonald.
Hi, thanks so much, John, and thanks for the invite to be here. So my name's Lisa McDonald. I'm the CEO of Recollect, and we are based in Wellington, New Zealand, and DatacomIT are our partner in Australia. We work with a lot of independent schools. In fact, we've just about hit 30 across Australia, New Zealand, and the US. So this is quite topical for us, and we obviously have quite a few religious institutions as well. We're using the Recollect product. I have been with Recollect for over 2 years, and hopefully have met quite a few of you at recent events in Australia as well. So yeah, thanks very much, John, and looking forward to the discussion.
So we are just waiting for Ros Malone to join. So I'm going to move on to Lucia Moscato.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to talk today. I'm looking forward to getting some ideas myself. Always good to get different perspectives. I'm the archivist at Melbourne Grammar School in Melbourne in St Kilda Road, funnily enough, across the road from DatacomIT. We're an independent school established in 1858. I'm the first professional archivist here. I've been here for 13 years now. I've worked in 2 other schools, but originally I came from government archives. So it's been quite a different shift from professional institutions to a school. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. And Joanne Evans.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Great to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation to be part of this discussion. So I'm Joanne Evans. I'm a archival and record-keeping researcher and educator at Monash University in Melbourne. And I've been in the profession for 30 years and over that time have had a varied career, initially in archival systems development, and then over the past 15 years at Monash in research and education. And I guess my interests in this is around rights-based record keeping and how and participatory record keeping, how we make our frameworks centered around the people around the things that matter when it comes to record keeping, and that's people. Thanks.
Thank you, Joanne. And Anita Grezewicz,
but close.
Grezewicz.
Good morning, everyone. My name, as John tried to pronounce, my name is Anita Grezewicz. I'm with the Australian Catholic Bishops Conference, and I'm the Records and Information Coordinator here. My background is primarily coming from state and federal and local government, and I've been in the industry for over 20 years now. So coming to conference nearly 8 years ago was a huge change from a government institution into a non-for-profit religious organisation, which has its challenges, but we get there eventually.
Thank you, everybody. And last but not least, hopefully, Ros Malone. Are you there, Ros?
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce yourself,
I just
Ros?
changed my browser. I think it wasn't interacting with my default browser.
Okay,
so I just changed my browser, but I'll leave the camera off.
Okay, we're all live now, Ros. So would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Ros Malone. I'm the Records and Archives Coordinator at a large regional boarding school in Western Australia, Australia's first co-educational boarding school. And I was the archivist there for a long time. I'm a professional archivist. And my experience at the school has involved implementing the RRDS2 and reporting on it and managing records as well as archives for that organisation.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. So today's event has come out of Information Awareness Month. We started planning this at the end of last year, around October, and I started speaking to Ros, and we came up with a wish list of people that we would like to speak, and we were lucky enough to get all of them. So thank you all for taking part in this today. And the idea is that we would like to share our experiences of how archives and record management practitioners in independent schools, religious institutions, charities and NGOs have come up with practical and innovative solutions and strategies to tackle the unique challenges in these sectors. So this is an opportunity for all of you attendees to ask questions and interact directly with leading voices in the industry. You can post questions into the chat and we'll make sure that they all get asked. The more questions, the better. We want this to be a practical session. I would really love to be able to come away from this session with some practical, actionable insights that can help all of you in your day jobs all across Australia. I know that oftentimes working in an archive, we can end up being working alone a lot of the time. And so this is an opportunity to come together and share ideas and come up with practical solutions to the problems that we all encounter. So just going to take you through the running order. So we've done the speaker introduction. So really the panel discussion today, we're going to talk through just the perspectives from everybody around their archiving practice, talk about the challenges across all of these institutions, and then cover off approaches of how we do manage access, preservation and digitization of our collections. And then towards the end of the hour, we'll have the audience QA and then some just key takeaways and reflections. So I might start just with the top of my screen, which is Luisa Moscato. I'd be really interested to hear your perspective on how you manage your practice and the challenges and some practical things that you might want to share with the group.
Yeah, thank you, John. I guess for a bit of context, when I came here 13 years ago, I'd not been long out of government records, and part of my work there had been establishing electronic record keeping standards for across the New South Wales government sector. So I got to know what was then called AS 4390, the Australian Standard on Records Management. It's now ISO, it's an international standard 15489.1. I still find those documents quite handy to go through, but one of the things I did notice in going from a government archives to a school archives was that I lost, as a sole archivist, I lost that ability to talk things out. And I often had to explain what an archivist was, what a record, because I'm both a record, I did the postgrad diploma when it was at Melbourne University. So I'm both an archivist, traditional archivist and records manager. So one of the things I've often had to do is keep telling and describing people what it is that an archivist does, what a records manager does, explain what I can do for them. So that's been a big change. Also, the fact that the resources that I have at hand are extremely limited. I'm part-time. I had no budget when I first turned up. I do have a budget now. I've got very good at hustling, and most recently my big success for hustling was getting approval to implement Recollect. So I didn't quite get to the point of holding the finance manager's ankles, but it was pretty close. I was very fortunate when I came to Melbourne Grammar. A previous archivist who was a past staff member and student here was very well read. So read a lot of National Archives standards on storage. So my setup here, I'm very fortunate. I have quite a large office. I have an archive or heritage gallery off it. Downstairs underneath this 1858 building, a renovation done in 1996 means that I have 10 compactors in a secure climate controlled environment. So I'm extremely lucky. It's a bit dated now, but one of the problems was that our archives was established in 1946. Our museum was established pretty much in 1858 when we started. I'm very lucky. I know exactly what's happened in archives and museums since 1876 because we've got school magazines. So there was a history here at the school of recording itself, of capturing its records. So I've been lucky there. The challenges was that archivists and programs came and went. So when I arrived downstairs, just looked like what I'm sure many people have encountered, a huge, enormous room full of stuff taller than me. So it wasn't even possible to start with an old school record survey. So one of the things over time, especially in those first few years, I had to sort of let go of my obsession with archival, strict archival theory and practice, but used just bits of it. So I did record survey. I did had worked in a couple of schools. So I used the retention schedule from the ASA, the 2007 version. I opened boxes, I wrote Excel, I did Excel spreadsheets. And so unfortunately, up until recently, I've actually been living in those Excel spreadsheets still. They're fabulous spreadsheets, but and the only databases we had was published to our website. So if you want to go have a look, Google MGS Archives. I got in ahead of Manchester Grammar School. So they're only 500 years old. So I got ahead in front of them. So Google MGS Archives and you'll see there's a photographic database. And so all we've been able to have, and it's accessible to everyone, is about 9,500 photographs. So that's where I started, just by digitising photographs. And then I saw the mess downstairs, and over about 3-year period, I started appraising and disposing of those records and listing them. And it took quite a while. I'm one person. The Royal Commission and the Ministerial Order on Records Management in the Victorian Government have helped a lot, because basically it gave me a bit of leverage to ask for more resources on listing records and their locations, which of course has helped speed of retrieval, accountability. Old Melburnians, that's what we call our old boys or old girls. I can help satisfy their inquiries. The challenge for me is I've been so successful, I think, is that a lot of my time is taken now up on research inquiries. I do about 230 a week. Sorry, not a week. A year. Some of them I can do in 5 minutes. Some take months. And one of the advantages, I think, not the Lisa's here, but one of the advantages to looking for Recollect was more than an archival management software. It was going to allow what is in my head to actually be an effective tool. So the connections between people, events, the business records that I hold, because I hold council minutes, student staff records, headmasters series, and the usual sort of publications of the schools. And I've also, of course, got an extensive museum. So the objects, the maps, the plans. So it's over time, I've gone from a very manual process. I had to sort of let go of a few. I've only done 2 series descriptions. So I'm hoping to bring back some of that archival practice of finding aids and series descriptions that will provide that more. My role will be more about the context. So understanding the personality of the records and connecting people to their past, the past of their families, the past of the school. And it's all about connections and identity, I think. And I think that's one of the absolute joy I've got from working in a school is that connection, that personal connection to the past. And even from a business perspective, helping the school look at where it's been, what the lessons have been learned, and where it's going in the future, reconnecting with its traditional values, challenging some traditional values. So I'm able to help our development team, that's our fundraising team, our alumni team, the current staff, and the students. So in fact, I think I know more than I actually do now. So but the challenge is always there with resources. My time, I'm only 3 days a week, so I hustle, and I've spent the last probably 5 years digitizing whatever I can. So now that I have a budget, if I have spare budget, don't tell anyone, if I have spare budget at the end of the year, I just throw stuff at imaging companies. So hopefully it'll have a home to go to when I get Recollect put in.
That's great, Louisa. Thank you. And that's actually a good segue onto my next question. I might just work around clockwise on my screen. I think everyone's screens are different. But we have a question that speaks to that, and I'll hand this to Joanne. What successful fundraising strategies have you found for smaller grassroots archives?
Okay, John, it's like, I guess I'm probably going to talk at the higher level. It's like in terms of picking up on what Louisa was saying about how you have to become an advocate for records and archives in your organisation, and to, I guess, be kind of comfortable in that role and find, I just wrote down, you need to have your elevator pitch about why what you're trying to do, why records and archives are important. And you might have a couple of different elevator pitches for different people, different kinds of people within your organization. It's like, because I think the thing is, if you can find people who can help you champion what you're doing, that's when you can sort of get access to resources. You can get invited to the table, and people are sort of aware and can kind of do that for you. It's like, and so I guess I would really, it's not something that comes naturally to us. It's like, but I think where you can start from is just your passion for archives and records. It's like, really just think about how you take that and share it with other people. It's like, I guess, my experience in a faculty of IT, where people look at us and say, what's an archivist, what's a records manager, is to just be really passionate about why records and archives are important whenever we can. And I guess the other thing, thinking of what Louisa was saying there, it's like, so there are, I'm thinking about the various, the grants that Prov here in Victoria Public Record Office has available, and how you see that as a program developing capability. It's like, I think in Louisa's story there, that you sort of start small, doing the little things, start low tech, start just getting things organized, working out where you are, working out, what's possible. And then I think you then can look to sort of, how could those sort of external funding opportunities enable you to sort of, again, grow, get the resources that you need to do some bigger things, and then use that again to continue to advocate and I guess demonstrate successes and what's possible with those people in the organisation that you get that connection with.
Thank you very much for that, Joanne. We're getting so many questions, so I'm gonna hand these out as I think appropriate. This one I think might be good for you, Anita. How can emerging AI technologies be leveraged to enhance archives and records management while mitigating risks such as data privacy breaches, bias in automated decision making, and over-reliance on the technology?
That is a good question. We've yet to journey down that path here in conference. So I actually report to the ICT manager here in conference, and that is something that he's looking into at the moment. There is a lot of discussion with our IT people as well as interested archivists across dioceses within Australia here at the moment, how AI will play a part to help us, but also ensuring that we don't lose our roles within that as well. We almost need to become technical in some ways, learning how to train the agents if we're using 365 tenancies and things like that within SharePoint. And it's very important to have that baseline foundation document of AI, what will be accepted and what won't be accepted within your organisation as a really, I guess, a first starting point. And ensure that you have a stake at the table with your IT people while those things are being developed. Again, that comes back to the advocacy part that we all play. So you need to be really comfortable to have those tough discussions with IT, senior management, and ensure that you're across it. So I guess our roles have changed a lot, whether we're, traditionally an archivist or records managers or a combination of both, like Louisa and myself appear to be. We need to start delving into those IT components a little bit more to understand that, so that we don't get lost in that and technology doesn't overrun us. And I think a lot of us would have probably seen that occur as technologies have changed and emerged over the years for those that have been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years, with the rise of digital capability. So I think it's just really important to make sure that you've just got that stake at the table, have a voice, be heard, don't back down, just keep fighting that good fight when it comes to AI and learn what you can. That's probably my biggest takeaway for it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Anita. I've got one for Lisa, and I think this is a really good one. So this is from Megan. How are you dealing with privacy issues for photos, permissions, etc., on your archives? I'm under pressure not to publish any picture with a face on, with a student in it, if the student's under 16, even if there is no name attached or history, which will limit what I can put on my online repository.
Yeah, so we've actually seen quite a big change in approach from schools in the time that we've been working with them. I think that initially, somebody mentioned there that if it's been previously published, that would be made public because it had already been made public, I suppose is the best way to put it. But what we've seen more recently is actually schools changing their privacy policy and locking an awful lot more down. We have a school in implementation at the moment, so this is quite a different process that's been completed in the past. They're initially only going to release everything up to World War II, and then after that, everything else will be kept off offline for now. So there is a lot of different approaches, and it really is about the school deciding what is acceptable for them under their privacy policy. And then we work with you to make that work, is probably the best way to put it, because we've got lots of options around access control groups and online and offline content and all those kinds of things. So as part of the implementation process, we can make sure that it meets your guidelines, really, the school guidelines.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lisa.
Could I jump
Rosie,
in there?
please
John,
do.
Yes, yeah. So I think this is the thing. It's like where AI technologies at the moment are the development of the large language models, scraping stuff off the web. We're in the Wild West at the moment. It's like when it comes to that, and it's the thing of, you know, these technologies can re-identify people and they can take our biometrics. It's like, and so I think at this moment in time, it is being really understanding that I feel that it's going to be a case of having to hold back until the regulation starts to come into play to sort of limit what people can do with images. It's like, so I think it's a complex space at the moment, and it's great, Lisa, to hear that Recollect has all those options that are available so that you can manage it within the current privacy settings. But I think it's a really important issue to sort of understand that we've now got these technologies that can re-identify people by putting data together. It's like that we've handed over without consent, without permissions. It's like, and so we really need the regulation to start to kick in that sort of puts some limits around this, and that's going to be a very slow process. And yeah, it has. And just in my teaching, I was talking to the students about how some schools are taking down all their photos that have people in them because of the technology, and challenging the IT student, the IT graduates of the future, to have a think about what that means from ethical and human rights perspectives.
Thank you very much for that, Joanne. Does anyone else have anything to add on that point?
Yes. So part of our practice has been to deposit our school magazines with the State Library of Victoria. So, because they're published documents, anyone can go to the library and access our school magazines. So I guess, the nature of our types of schools is that we get in the spotlight sometimes with the media. So you do, if they choose to research, they have to go to the State Library to do that research. With regard to images, yes, all our images are online. But I cannot post any image of a student currently or staff member currently at the school. And one of the things we're going to be doing when Recollect goes live is put the wall up. There won't be free access to our images anymore. And also, I've got a photographic policy, which is part of my larger collection policy. So there's a certain type of image I'm collecting. So I'm collecting the formal school images and also the ones that are published on social media or the magazines. So one of the things I think that I bring to the table is the sheer volume. We get focused on images so much that I think it sometimes takes us away from the other records of the school. Mm-hmm. The volume is unmanageable. You don't need to use AI necessarily. You can still go a little old school by going high level. Be absolutely sure about what images you want to collect. There's certain sort of critical points in the life, if you like, of a photograph. They can be deleted off the camera. They can be deleted off, like we'll have 1 hour event and 400 photographs come from it. So you can be quite prescriptive without being technological about what you're keeping. Personally, I don't love using OneDrive, which the school is. It's great for data IT backups, but it's an unmanaged mess. So there's still the need for records management and records management systems. There's still the need to look at the migration from legacy systems to newer systems. You still, particularly with AI, which is, funnily enough, a problem that happened in World War I, you need authenticity of the photograph. They used to recreate photographs in World War I. So you're looking at records being inviolate, that there's audit trails, all the sorts of stuff that are actually very well articulated in the International Standard on Records Management. So I know it's not the most thrilling read, but we actually need to get back to, we do actually need to get back to what it is we're collecting, why we're collecting it, and that what it is we're looking at is what it is. So part of the school's policy on AI is that old school, you reference sources. So, and you check those sources, that it's the source that you want to, because there's absolutely no trouble with the volume of information that we've got at hand. It's about being strategic. And look, here's a flex. I went to a lecture on AI at Harvard last year, and a lot of the people in that room were using 6-7 different types of AI software daily. So that ship's out of the port already. So it's about being clever, and it's about knowing what it is you want and what's important. So privacy, use, and you know, I think also there's a lot of hack work we've got to do to get our systems ready for the future. And you know, so but I think as records managers and archivists, we do know what to do in this environment.
Could I
Thank
make a
you
comment?
very much, Louisa. I would, Ros,
Could I make a
I heard, would you please make a comment, please? Yes.
It's actually just a reflection on our meeting earlier this week to prepare for the event, and on a really excellent comment of Joanne's, and I'd really love to expand upon that into practice, if that's okay, Joanne. Joanne talked about people working in this space not beating themselves up and not feeling as if they're failing, because it can be overwhelming. And my perspective of practice with regard to that, because I had quite a large backlog, and it was a time of real change when I came into the role, is to begin putting yourself in places that Louisa is mentioning and Anita's mentioning, in whichever way your organization does that. So I spent a few years lobbying, for example, to be put on the ICT steering committee, and I became a default records and compliance person on that committee. But it took some years, but that helped me a great deal with managing records and archives in digital systems, because the issue that I have with digital systems is there's no one system that can do everything that we need to do. And so we do a combination of systems management and records management in place across multiple systems. And being on ICT steering in some way, records or archives, that person, and having a voice there is a very good beginning. And another very good beginning is to lobby for, and I was able to successfully lobby for, records inductions for new staff carried out by the records and archives person. And that takes varying times depending upon the role, but the value of that and the feedback I've had has been around targeting the RRDS to roles and business areas. And I've got various documentation and things like records inductions and things like support on an ongoing basis. I'm very much an outreach archivist. We've got this problem, come and talk to us about it. What can we do with our work? And those base places for the archivist, for records management support, that's a wonderful place to start. And you would be amazed where that puts you and where you can build upon then full implementation of the RRDS2, which I did by business area. And then that led on to other things like vital records management, disposal management, destruction, formalized destruction. And so if that's a good perspective for people who might not be enabled as yet, but they might be given the responsibility. And as Joanne said, you end up in that place where you feel like you're failing, but you can make it so that you begin to succeed and then build upon that. I hope that helps as a perspective.
Can I follow up on that and say that I think Louisa mentioned the standards, and also there's also the standards for child safe organisation, which talk about records, the record keeping being part of governance and being part of training. And so to look at how you kind of use those kind of compliance sticks, but not in a way to beat people up with, but to sort of say, hey, you know, this is really important for these reasons. But it's about, I think, as Roz talked there, then the good relationship building that comes in behind that. I can play this role within the organisation. I can help the organisation do better in this space. So you can sort of use those compliance sticks, but then turn it around to positive relationships. It's like, and say, well, here is what, you know, we can, if you get better control over your archives and records, then this is what we can bring to the table to make us a better organisation.
And very specific targeting is good, Joanne. People come to you with a problem, solve that problem in one way for them, get them doing that, and then build upon that. And you find if you can successfully solve that one small problem for them or give them a solution, they will then say, I've got this bigger problem. And then you can begin to really get retention and disposal embedded in people's work.
Yeah. And tell other people as well too. Yeah.
And tell other people, and they do tell other people. And so you're quite right.
I think also, if I can pick up what both Joanne and Roz are talking about, one of the things, and it took time when I got to know the sort of executive staff of this school. So I now do speak to all new staff as part of their induction. I speak to all new students as part of their induction. But one of the things that we picked up in the early days of AS 4390, the records management standard, was that record keeping was a shared responsibility. So it's not all on the archivist or the records manager to be across everything in the school. So I effectively am probably doing more of a traditional role here at the school. I consult and I advise on records management, on the use of the retention schedule, on the digitising of records. But one of the messages, because I now speak to all new staff, one of the messages I get to do is talk to the staff about their roles and responsibilities as record creators. And of course, there's a little bit of pushback because teachers are time poor. But they're aware of what their responsibilities is. Also, we purchased the retention schedule that the ASA issued in 2019. And if anyone asks me about the retention of records, I answer the question, as Roz said, that is really important to answer the question, but I also send them the schedule, which gives it a bit of weight. So I think I am yet to win. I have tried to get the roles and responsibilities for record keeping put into the IT agreement that all new staff sign, and I've been trying to get it into everyone's roles and responsibility, position descriptions here at the school. But as Ross says, you know, it's sort of a growth thing when people get to know you. But I do think the hard thing for a lot of schools is that the archives aren't necessarily run by archivists and records managers. So and they're on their own. So connections like the Australian Society of Archivists School Archives Special Interest Group, belonging to that group is extremely important. But also going to the Victorian or your state branch of the Australian Society of Archivists is important, because you meet people outside your bubble. So you meet the data archivists that are working in the AI space, that are migrating huge volumes of data. So you learn something from them, and hopefully some of them one day decide to become school archivists. But I think there's a need for a lot of school archivists to get educated, to go see Joanne, do some courses, the ASA online courses. There's a training package you can do online. It's amazing. But it's all about leaning on different things. And as Joanne said, starting small and growing your brand.
And I will say, Louisa, something I've always advocated for. You talk about solving people's problems and then giving them the RRDS too. Most of our teaching staff and a lot of our support staff found the full schedule overwhelming. So I created a series of documentation that targeted the schedule to their business areas. That was the first thing I did.
I do that too. So in the body of the email, I will give them the bit that's relevant to them. But I think we're in that weird spot where having them overwhelmed is actually good, because I know myself, I can get overwhelmed too, because it takes it as a whole school problem or a whole school issue, not just an IT issue, not just a teaching issue, not just an archivist issue. So eventually I would hope the schools are going to have to sort of create, I'd love a records management steering group or record keeping steering group, because I do think the answer is in different approaches to suit all our business needs. Again, that's covered in the records management standard on designing and implementing record keeping systems. We use that actually to create a record keeping framework. So I'm more successful in some areas than others, but you know, there's tools out there. I think also the pressure for schools is they try and put square pegs in round holes, that using existing library software or art curation software that's not quite designed for the purposes of managing records that we may be. I mean, it may suit you, but for us, it hasn't. You know, it's about looking at your environment. And we've also had a professional externally do a records keeping survey across the school. So not me, so as an impartial person, looking at the pain points and the wins that we've got across the school.
Okay, I might get into the questions, and thank you all so much for the questions. I have to admit, I did write some questions prior, just in case we didn't get any. I won't be asking any of those. We've got plenty. So I'm just going to do a sort of lucky dip here. Alex, what is one key point of metadata that you wish you'd added to your records at creation that would help you do your work more smoothly? And I believe this might have been answered in the chat by our team as well, but I think it's worth expanding upon. If anyone would like to jump in on that, I'm happy for someone to take the lead. I'm seeing
I think also,
Lisa.
although I did write something to Alex there, John, but I think people should really consider automated metadata, especially with Alex is dealing with 800 people creating records. And based on the Privacy Act amendments of 2024, you definitely, especially with the introduction of AI into our systems, need privacy metadata. That's something we definitely add and are starting to add, if that helps, Alex.
Thank you very much for that, Ros. The other one that jumped out at me was from Kelly, and it's related to privacy. Working in schools with vulnerable individuals, how do you take a trauma-informed approach? And I might aim this one at Joanne.
Yes. Well, I think I guess the first key thing to do is to look at the ASA module on trauma-informed approach is an excellent starting point, and to look at to understand just what it means when people are dealing with those issues in their lives and the way that it might manifest in different behaviours and how you manage and respond to that, and then how you also look after yourself in those processes as well too. So I think it's just, again, very important just to understand and where people are coming from in their lives when they come and particularly want access to records about themselves, and respond in the most human and compassionate way possible. It's like, so the importance of, as I think as Louisa said, sometimes finding records can take a long time. So the important thing to do is to sort of give people updates about what that process is. It's like, make sure that they don't see the time that you need to actually find out if you can find any records about their relationship with the organisation as a child, that it might take time, but don't do it in a way that you're informing them about what's going on, so they don't get the impression that you're trying to withhold things from them. So I think it is about, having good relationships with the people who are looking for their records, understanding the reasons why they're looking for them, particularly if they're dealing with traumatic events, it's like, and coming to terms with them, and so that you're in a position to be able to support those needs and respond to them. And I think, picking up again on something Louisa said, I think it's really important that you then have a policy framework within the organisation to support you. It's like, so that's the front-facing side, but the back-facing side is to make sure that your organisation is behind you and supportive in what you're trying to achieve and do. And I guess, the important thing coming out of the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse is that access is to the fullest extent possible. It's like, so you need to get your organisation to be supporting you in doing that as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Joanne. There's another question here that jumped out of me, and so it's from Will. And how is everyone tackling the issue of educating current staff that may be stuck in previous ways of managing records, particularly in the digital record keeping area? And I might add to that as well. I know when I go into schools and speak to them, they'll have a lot of records that are hybrid, where part of the record is physical, part of it is digital, and they overlap. So I'd be very interested to know how you guys manage that. Anita, I think, has had to leave us, so I am going to throw that one. Lisa, I'd be interested from a Recollect point of view. How would as the person representing Recollect here, how would you advise people to do that within Recollect, managing physical and digital, and then the hybrid records as well? And maybe we can throw it to the team after Lisa's spoken.
Sorry, I'm going to have to apologise because I did miss the first part of that question. I was typing an answer to somebody.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I've been doing the same thing.
No problem. So Recollect can manage offline and online items. So if you've got undigitized content that is managed in the same way in Recollect, you can have a note there to describe what is sitting in the physical archives but is not yet being digitized. If it's something that you do want the public to be able to access, otherwise you can use it to actually just record what you have in your physical archives as well. So it works across all of those areas: hybrid, only digital, and physical archives only. So I hope that's a good answer.
I would add, Lisa, for people who don't have Recollect, because it's quite expensive, I would refer back to Louisa's comment earlier about her fabulous Excel spreadsheets, because you can add connecting information there. And I also would recommend to everyone to use the ready-made enterprise taxonomy that's in the RRDS2. Make sure people are keeping their records in whatever form under the terms used in the RRDS2, and that makes them so much easier to find.
I guess I'll probably jump in there. It's like and say that I think to switch the conversation from the records as a physical thing and to the record keeping, it's like as processes, it's like to sort of talk about, you know, the uses of records in and through time. It's like, and so to get people I guess to focus on that kind of dimension of our role would, and to sort of say that because as Louisa said earlier, you know, we can generate so much stuff without information technologies. And so the need is not to sort of try and manage all that stuff as a big data soup and data lake, but actually bring in the intellectual controls over that, which is, again, thinking back to the AI conversation, the AI is trying to make sense of that data soup. But hey, as records and archives professionals, we actually have mechanisms that we've been using for an awful long time to provide ways of making sense of all of that, and making sense of it in a way that maintains its authenticity, integrity, reliability as evidence. So to sort of really, I guess, shift that conversation to dealing with the intellectual control of records and archives, and not get stuck on the sort of the physicalness, even if the physicalness is a digitalness.
I would also add to that, Joanne, if I could just briefly, what we do best is collect. So we need to seek that important information across our systems where it's unmanaged and uncontrolled and bring it into a digital archive. That's something else I would advocate for. And that can be a very simple space, but you collect it and you manage it intellectually where you've got vast unstructured data. So anyone can do that. So I would just add to that, Joanne.
Thank you so much, Rosa, and thank you so much to everyone. We're actually, it's gone so quickly. I would just like to add on behalf of DatacomIT, so this came out of my conversations with people across all of the institutions that have joined today. We do a lot of document digitization. We also provide SaaS software solutions for collection management and digital preservation. So if you'd like to talk about that, please do reach out. I would say that this conversation has been a real education for myself, and I hope it has been for you all. We will collate the questions and circulate them along with the resources that were mentioned by all of the presenters who kindly gave their time today. I really would like to create, you know, an actionable legacy that we can share with everybody that will help you in your day-to-day jobs. And perhaps, you know, if anyone wants to reach out at any point after this event with Datacom or anybody who's taken part, then please feel free to do so. It's been a real pleasure, and it's actually gone. I'm really pleased with the amount of engagement that we've had. So thank you to everybody for taking part today. And I think that will draw us to the end.
John, I just want to mention that everyone will receive a recording, if not today, definitely early next week. So if you've missed anything or had any issues sort of logging in, no problem. You'll have the full recording.
Fantastic, excellent. Well, thank you all to everybody again, to Louisa, to Joanne Evans, to Roz, to Anita, and special thanks to Lisa McDonald from Recollect for supporting today's event along with us at DatacomIT, and also to all of the organisations that collaborate on Information Awareness Week every year. There are more events. There's another one this afternoon. If you go to the National Archives website, the RIMPA website, the ASA website, they're all listed on there. So thank you all very much for your time. And that closes today's webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.